army doesn't have the necessary equipment on ground to fight the insurgents. The president of Nigeria should listen to those that can distinguish the right and left, those that can tell him the right thing, not sycophants.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, before this week, it was more likely for former President Olusegun Obasanjo to play at next year's FIFA World Cup than for you to find an APC governor publicly disagree with President Tinubu. But that's no longer the case. Why? Nigeria happened to one of them recently. Watch.
We should prioritize security. Because the nexus between peace and security, peace and development, peace, security and development need not to be overemphasized. While we are doing road construction, I agree. We are building homes, I agree. But most importantly, let us prioritize security. Let both Borno State governments, national and subnational, put together enough resources on ground so that we can procure equipment. The army doesn't have the necessary equipment on ground to fight the insurgents. And I want to also inform you that right now, the insurgents are using technology to fight the soldiers on ground. A few days ago, I had a meeting with the chief of army staff. The chief of army staff said that he's looking for about 32 drones. And he will end the insurgency. He is right. Each drone is costing about $5.5 million. Why can't we put resources so that we shall buy these drones? Let us prioritize insecurity. And another issue that we shall look into is the issue of procurement of military equipment, both hardware and software. Let us remove contractocracy in the procurement of the military equipment. Let us deal directly from government to government so that we shall get value for money. Otherwise, most of the contractors, I'm not saying all, when you give them money, they will not even buy the equipment. And some of the monies are going into the torturous, bureaucratic melting pots of the ministerial systems. If we want to do right, we can put heads together and this madness will come to an end within the next 6 months. The president of Nigeria should listen to those that can distinguish the right and left, those that can tell him the right thing, not sycophants, which is very important. He has the large heart to do the right thing, but he needs to understand what is happening on the ground. A few days ago, I said there's a resurgence in Borno State. And I also commended the federal government that they are doing very well. Let us come together and then resolve this crisis. When I said this thing, some people are saying that there's no insecurity in Borno State. So these are one of our own problems. So we should not politicize insecurity. What I said now is that I commended the Nigerian army. They are doing very well, I told you. Honestly speaking. But the president should listen to those that can tell him the right thing.
So let's put all of this into perspective. That was the APC governor of Borno State, Professor Babagana Zulum, who is also a close ally of the current vice president, Kashim Shettima. So obviously, this is not a comment that is coming from an opposition governor. But let's interrogate his earlier comments, which in summary suggests the president doesn't seem to be listening to governors like him, and that the president has surrounded himself with sycophants. But if the president is not listening to him, or listening to those he thinks the president should be listening to, who then is the president listening to? The NSA? The Minister of Defense? Or the security chiefs? Obviously, I don't have answers to this question, but clearly, all doesn't seem to be well between the governor and the president. If not, the governor would not have chosen a medium like this to say all that you have heard him say. And does this confirm the rumors in some quarters that the relationship between the vice president and the president is no longer what it used to be? Perhaps this unhealthy relationship between them is the reason why there seems to be a resurgence of Boko Haram in many parts of the north.
On February 25th, 2025, in Kobre and Za were attacked. The whole towns were burned down. schools destroyed, and many people injured. On the 15th of April 2025, communities of Banga and Lar were attacked, 5 people were killed, houses, schools, and churches were burned down. On 26th of April 2025, corporate community was attacked. 11 vigilante members were slaughtered. And senators should note that those vigilantes came to support the community all the way from Hau local government, Borno State. They were slaughtered on that day. On the 16th of May 2025, Kulda community in Garhawot of Hong local government was attacked. 16 people were killed. 90% of the houses, including place of worship, were burned down. On the same day, the community was also attacked in Gayawot, in Hong local government. 6 people were killed. The entire town was burned down. And the Senate should also note that the neighboring local government of Gombe has as well been under Boko Haram attacks since on 17th of January 2025. 5 people were killed on the 2 attacks on the local government. Senators should be aware that the resurgence of Boko Haram activities cut across the northeastern states of Borno, Yobe, and Adama, and most of the local government now reside within the local government headquarters. By extension, the whole region and the country at large, people in the affected areas no longer go to farms and normal trading activity.
So while senators were busy lamenting the state of insecurity in their respective states, the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, was busy gaslighting his audience at the APC summit held in Abuja last week.
In the Northeast, Mr. President, where it all started over 20 years ago, the Boko Haram, the jihadis, over 13,543 terrorists and criminals neutralized since you came in. Over 124,408 Boko Haram ISWAP fighters and family members surrendered. Over 11,118 weapons recovered and destroyed. Community resettlement and economic recovery is in progress. And we have literally, because we do not talk much, because of the nature of the work we are doing, most of these things have not been made public. That's why we are taking our time to use this opportunity to bring the facts and figures so that people will know.
Quite frankly, what does anyone expect a National Security Advisor to say? That he has failed on the job? So as a rule, I take anything that comes out of the National Security Advisor's mouth with a pinch of salt. And why wouldn't I?
Within the last 2 years, about 300,000 repentant Boko Haram members and families have surrendered. I cannot completely say that 100% of those people that have surrendered are doing the right thing. But I want to assure you that over 99% are doing well and are not participating in the ongoing terrorism. So yes, I believe among the 600,000 or more that have repented, I cannot rule out the possibility of few of them going back to the bush. And I want to also inform you that we have informants and collaborators within the Nigerian armed forces, within the politicians and within the communities. What we shall do is to strengthen our intelligence and to deal with them ruthlessly.
That revelation was made about 5 days ago, and up till now, nobody in government or the security agencies have refuted that claim. And they are not alone, and this is what we have typically become as a nation. The news central journalist heard that revelation for the first time and kept mum. Didn't express shock. No follow-up questions to unravel the politicians and the individuals in the security agencies that are sabotaging the fight against terror. Nothing. They just moved on like we all do. A people that have become numb to violence. Perhaps the most tragic part of this total blackout was that none of the leading opposition candidates seized the moment. An indication of how much opposition has retreated in Nigeria. Only Peter Obi seems to get it. And even him, to the best of my knowledge, missed this one. And like I said earlier, there is enough blame to go round. But I have no doubt in my mind that the bulk of this blame must go to the government and the security agencies. And when I say security agencies, I do not mean the rank and file who are just thrown into the battlefield without the necessary incentives and equipment to fight. I'm simply referring to the likes of Nuhu Ribado and this man.
We need our prayers. As Christians, we need to pray consistently and ceaselessly to ensure that this country remains one and the same. This is a blessed country. Everybody in the world knows Nigeria is great. And some people are not happy Nigeria is still standing. If you remember, not long ago, 2015, some people said that Nigeria was going to pack up. This is 2025, we're still standing strong. And we will continue to prevail. I want to thank Daddy and Mommy for this opportunity and to assure you that we're doing everything possible to ensure that we secure this country. But we cannot do it without your prayers. Members of the armed forces are standing daily to ensure that this country is secured and protected. Your prayers means a lot. Your prayers will make that difference. Putting hands together, making that difference, this country will continue to grow. I want to say thank you for the opportunity to be here, sir. We are really very blessed. Thank you and God bless you all. Thank you.
So that was Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff, where he had gone to visit Bishop David Abioye in his new church. Now, first and foremost, as a firm believer in prayers myself, I have no problem with his presence and request for prayers. My only snag is that he made it look as though all that the nation requires to win the war against terror was prayers. And as you have seen from the previous videos that I've shown, Nigeria obviously needs more than prayers. And I'm not in any way suggesting we shouldn't be praying. Of course we can pray, and we should pray. But after prayer comes action, comes work, comes holding the feet of elected and appointed representatives to fire. As far as I'm concerned, Nigerians can decide to pray 100 times a day. But if they don't take deliberate actions to change or improve their situation, then all the efforts put into these prayers will be useless. In the final analysis, prayer doesn't do the real work for anyone. So why give the impression to this congregation and the millions who may have seen this video that prayer was central to winning the war against terror? Why do that? While I don't expect him to publicly call out the government he himself is a part of, he could have at least challenged the congregation to hold their elected representatives more accountable, or say what they usually would say. If you see something, say something. But to appear before this congregation, and all you essentially did was to ask them to continue to pray, when you yourself knows the problem is bigger than that, I think that was a little disingenuous on his part. Now, while prayer can be a very powerful weapon the military can deploy in its fight against insurgency, Nigeria also needs brave and sincere men and women who will speak truth to power.